Have you ever sat on the porch with a cup of tea in hand, watching the sun go down, and suddenly found yourself thinking back to the early days? When love felt like butterflies in your stomach, when just holding hands could send a spark right through you. Those moments don't have to stay locked in the past. Believe it or not, love has no expiration date. And just because the years have passed, it doesn't mean the romance has to. Now, you and I both know that love in our golden years looks a little different than it did in our 20s. And that's not a bad thing. In fact, I'd say it's deeper, richer, quieter, maybe, but no less powerful. It's built on memories, shared laughter, and weathering storms together. But even the strongest relationships need a little nurturing from time to time. That gentle nudge to remind us we're still not just partners in life, but also in love. So today, let's talk about keeping that spark alive. About rekindling romance. Not with grand gestures or expensive gifts, but with simple, meaningful things that bring warmth back into the heart of a relationship. Whether you've been married for decades, recently found love again, or you're just hoping to feel that closeness once more, there's always room to grow, to connect, and to fall in love all over again. Let's start with something small, but incredibly powerful: communication. It sounds simple, right? But how often do we really talk, heart to heart, with our partner these days? I'm not talking about the day-to-day, like what to eat for dinner or whose turn it is to take out the trash. I mean those real conversations about dreams, memories, feelings. Sometimes we stop having those talks because we think we already know everything about each other. But you'd be surprised what you can discover, even after 50 years. Try this. Tonight, instead of turning on the TV or scrolling through your phone, sit down with your partner and ask them something out of the blue. What's one thing you've always wanted to do together, but we never got around to? Or, what was your favorite memory of us from our younger days? You'd be amazed how a single question can lead to laughter, reminiscing, even a few tears. And those moments? They're golden. Now, once that door is open, it's easier to bring back another beautiful thing: affection. I don't mean anything fancy or over the top. Just the little things: a warm hug before bed, holding hands while walking through the garden, a gentle touch on the arm while you're talking. Physical affection doesn't fade with age. In fact, it becomes more comforting, more meaningful. It says, "I'm here. I see you. I still cherish you." I know some folks feel shy about showing affection as they get older, especially if it hasn't been a habit for a while. But it's never too late to start again. A small gesture can go a long way. One gentleman once told me he began leaving love notes in his wife's knitting basket. Just a few sweet words scribbled on a sticky note. At first, she laughed. Then she cried. Now, she saves every single one in a little box by the bed. See, it's not about the size of the gesture. It's about the heart behind it. Another way to bring love back into focus is by doing something new together. It doesn't have to be anything wild. Even trying a new recipe or learning a simple dance in the living room can bring fresh joy into your connection. The act of discovering something together, no matter how small, creates shared excitement. That's something we often forget. Romance isn't just about candles and roses. It's also about shared laughter when your souffle flops, or when you both forget the steps and end up swaying side to side. One couple I know, in their 70s, decided to take up bird watching together. Neither of them had the slightest clue about birds at first, but they started going on little walks with a guidebook in hand. Now, it's their favorite thing to do. They even made up silly names for the birds they can't identify. That kind of shared hobby gives you new stories, new memories, and it makes you feel like a team again. And that's really what rekindling romance is all about. Reminding each other that you're still a team, still in it together, still growing. Because love doesn't stop growing just because we've added a few more candles to the birthday cake. Now, if you're thinking, well, that all sounds nice, but what if the spark really is gone? I hear you, but stick with me, because sometimes it's not that the spark is gone. It's just that life got busy. The kids, the work, the health worries, they piled up. But the good news is that spark? It's still in there, waiting. Let's take a moment and breathe together, shall we? Just a deep breath in and out. You're not alone in this. So many of us are rediscovering how to love, how to connect, how to simply enjoy each other again. And believe me, there's beauty in that journey. And speaking of journeys, there's something else we need to talk about, something that many couples overlook, but it makes all the difference in keeping love alive. Companionship. Now, that might sound obvious, but let's really think about it for a moment. Over time, especially after retirement or once the kids have moved out, the rhythm of daily life changes. Sometimes we fall into routines where we're side by side, but not really with each other. Like two ships passing gently in the night. Friendly, familiar, but not truly connected. Real companionship means choosing to share your life, not just live it in the same space. It's about making each other a part of your day in a meaningful way. It can be as simple as reading the newspaper together each morning and chatting about the headlines. Or sitting quietly in the same room, doing your own thing, but reaching out every now and then just to smile at each other. Those small shared moments are what give companionship its richness. Sometimes, it helps to be intentional about it. I know a couple who started setting aside what they call their tea time, just 30 minutes each afternoon where they sit on the balcony, sip their tea, and talk about anything but errands or doctor's appointments. They talk about dreams, about childhood memories, or just what the clouds look like that day. It's become their favorite part of the day. They say it makes them feel like they're still dating, just with more wrinkles and less rushing. And that brings us to another gentle but powerful idea: laughter. Oh, how we underestimate the joy of laughing together. When was the last time you and your partner really laughed? I don't mean a polite chuckle. I mean the kind of laughter that makes your eyes water and your belly ache just a little. Humor is glue. It holds us together when the world outside feels heavy. When you laugh together, you're not just having fun, you're reconnecting. You're saying, we're still us. You're reminding each other that even if the knees ache and the memory slips now and then, your hearts are still young when you're in good company. If laughter hasn't been around much lately, don't worry. It doesn't mean something's broken. Sometimes, it just takes a little invitation. Watch a silly comedy you both used to love. Play a board game you haven't touched in years. Yes, even if you both forget the rules halfway through. Or better yet, tell each other a story from your youth that the other hasn't heard yet. There's always something tucked away, something funny, something sweet. I remember an older lady once told me that her husband, well into his 80s, started writing little dad jokes on their bathroom mirror every morning with a dry erase marker. Some were terrible, some were pretty clever, but every single one made her smile before she even brushed her teeth. And that small ritual, it brought them closer than ever. Romance, you see, often hides in the most unexpected places. Now here's something else to think about: surprises. I know, after a certain age, we tend to like our routines. Predictability feels safe and comfortable. But a little surprise here and there can light up the heart like nothing else. It doesn't have to be anything big. Maybe leave a flower on their pillow, or cook their favorite meal on a random Tuesday, just because. Maybe even put on an old song and pull them in for a slow dance in the kitchen. You see, the element of surprise reminds us that we're still thinking of each other, still wanting to make the other person smile. And that kind of effort speaks volumes. It says, you still matter. I still choose you. We don't need to go back in time to feel young again. We just need to remember what made us feel alive in the first place. And that's often tied to those sweet, unexpected gestures. The kind that remind us we're not just living under the same roof. We're still loving, still discovering, still growing. And as we keep exploring these beautiful ways to rekindle romance, there's another piece of the puzzle that we simply can't leave out. It's something tender. Something that brings depth to love in later years. Something that touches the heart in quiet, lasting ways. Gratitude. That's the word. Such a simple idea, but it carries so much weight in a relationship, especially as we grow older. Gratitude isn't just about saying thank you when someone passes the salt. It's about truly seeing the other person, their kindness, their patience, the way they've stood by you through all of life's ups and downs, and letting them know that you see it and you appreciate it. When we've been with someone for a long time, it's easy to overlook the everyday efforts they make. We get so used to each other's rhythms that we forget to pause and say, you know, I really admire how you always remember to check on the neighbors, or I love the way you still hum that song while making breakfast. Those small things may seem ordinary, but when someone acknowledges them, they suddenly feel extraordinary. A simple, "I'm so lucky to have you," can turn an ordinary day into a memorable one. And that's the beauty of gratitude. It brings a new light to the love you've already built. It tells your partner, "I haven't stopped noticing you." And in return, they'll likely start noticing you more, too. Another way to express gratitude is through small, consistent acts of kindness. Sometimes words don't come easily, and that's okay. Actions speak just as clearly. Maybe it's folding their sweater before they notice, or bringing their favorite snack home from the store, or rubbing their shoulders after a long day. These quiet gestures say, "You matter to me." And when both partners practice that kind of thoughtfulness, the relationship softens, warms, and strengthens. And let's talk for a moment about something that tends to get overlooked, especially later in life: intimacy. Now, I know this can be a sensitive topic. Many people shy away from it, especially when health concerns, medications, or just time itself has shifted how intimacy looks or feels. But intimacy is about so much more than the physical. It's about closeness, tenderness, trust. It's about feeling safe and cherished in each other's presence. You might not be racing up the stairs anymore, but a long hug, a soft kiss, a look that lingers just a little longer, those are just as powerful. Intimacy in your golden years is often slower, more intentional, and filled with deeper emotional connection. And when you give yourself permission to express it in whatever way feels right, you open the door to an even stronger bond. I once met a couple who had been married for over 50 years. The wife told me, "We don't need to say much anymore. Sometimes we just lie in bed, holding hands in the dark, listening to the rain. That's our romance now." And I thought, how beautiful is that? Love doesn't need fanfare to be real. Often, it's in the quietest moments that it speaks the loudest. And remember, if you're facing challenges in this area, you're not alone. It's okay to talk about it with each other, or even with a doctor if needed. There's no shame in caring about your connection. In fact, it shows how deeply you value each other. As we reflect on everything we've talked about: communication, affection, laughter, companionship, gratitude, surprise, intimacy, it all comes back to one thing: connection. That's what romance is at its heart. Staying connected, even when life changes around you. Choosing each other again and again, with tenderness, with patience, and with love. You are never too old to nurture that connection. Never too old to write a love note, hold hands in public, or start a new hobby together. Never too old to whisper, "I love you," for no reason at all. So if you're watching this and thinking, can I really bring that spark back? The answer is yes. Absolutely yes. Romance doesn't belong only to the young. It belongs to the brave, the kind, the hopeful, and that means you. If this conversation has touched your heart, I'd love for you to share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us a sweet memory, a small gesture that made you feel loved, or what romance means to you now. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone you care about. There's something truly special about this stage of life. It's a time for reflection, for gratitude, and yes, for love. Real, lasting, beautiful love. Because the truth is, you're never too old to feel young again.